The Hamilton Ticats lose 27-26 to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in probably one of the most painful ways possible. They come back from a 20-3 deficit to take the lead, only to see the Bombers drive 95 yards in 11 plays in a minute 40 and tie the game on the second to last play and win it with the convert with no time on the clock. I'm here with the Spec Steve Milton. That's the play-by-play. It doesn't really do it justice, though, does it?
No, I think Ken Austin did. When you asked him how it felt, he said, I'd rather lose 47-0 than to lose that way. And, boy, you'll see that quote a lot across Twitter over the next 24 hours. That really was, I don't even know how to begin to describe it. Actually, the game should have been maybe not over, but a little more out of reach in the first half. There was a lot of bend, don't break on the defensive part, and the offense, as we talked a lot about, was Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I don't know when I've last seen 22 yards of offense in a half by this team or really any other team. I think the only stat you really need to know from that first half was the Ticats had 38 yards in penalties and 22 yards in offense. I mean, that's really hard to do.
Did Dan Lefevre do enough in the second half to mitigate the concerns you would have had in the first half?
Yes, I would say about 98%, except for this. Boy, didn't this remind you a lot of 3 or 4 years ago when the offense couldn't get that one first down to get that extra time on the clock? They went 2 and out and really didn't use much time. Not long before the big drive. That reminded me a lot of a few years ago. And I think that other than that, in the second half, I thought Lefevre was a completely different guy out there. Ken Austin said the first half wasn't at all on Danny Lefevre. I agree. I argue with that. I mean, Kent knows quarterbacks more than I'll ever know. But even Dan said himself that he thought he could have done more. I didn't think he was throwing the ball hard. I thought he was aiming it the entire first half. I don't think he threw a hard ball. In the second half, he threw quite a bit. And he said that's true, but part of that was because they were on a roll. And it's easier to sort of get in that rhythm, and throwing hard has partly got to do with rhythm.
This is the third game now the Ticats have had an opportunity to win. They had a chance to win in Edmonton and couldn't get it done the last play of the game. They botched a field goal that would have tied it in Calgary, and now we have this game here. Do we have something systemic going on with this team?
Well, it's strange. It's funny. When you said Edmonton, it sparked something in my mind. What did Edmonton do last year? They had a lot of this last year. And the Bombers to some degree, but mostly they were out of it most of the time last year. But Edmonton last year had this. Where a lot of times you lose those games that you shouldn't. Here's what bothered me about that final drive. One of the things that's got, and really we're criticizing the defense at the end of the game when we're starting criticizing the offense at the start of the game. They needed to make a stop there. They had 4 or 5 chances. Most of the time, and we've commented on this privately, I don't know if we've done it on the air many times, that from about game 6 or 7 last year, this team broke a nasty 10-year habit, which is they were the worst team in the world at tackling and having tackles broken. And most of this year and most of the second half last year, with the exception of 2 games in Regina, we didn't really see that. Well, there must have been 6 or 7 or 8 missed or broken tackles on that final drive. And how many? At least 2 jump balls that I can think of. Maybe 3. I think that might be an exaggeration. They didn't make. You've got to play better at the point of contact on those passes. There really was no excuse for that final drive. Zero excuse.
Make sure you read Friday's Spectator for a full game report in the Scratching Post blog for all the up-to-the-minute Ticat news. Reporting from McMaster University with the Spec Steve Milton, I'm Drew Edwards.